from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on Ag Day, the rides, the food, the fun. We take you to the county fair and look back at its ag beginnings. The latest on a fire that caused massive damage to a beef processing plant in Kansas and what that means for the industry. And wheat takes center stage when it comes to talking trade.
We send them wheat. Wheat. That's not a good deal. And they don't even want our wheat.
Ag Day, presented by the all-new Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. The Trump administration continuing its work to try to get a trade deal with Japan. The president sharing an update from the campaign trail as he pushes for purchases of U.S. ag goods. AgDay's Betsy Gibbon joins us now with more. Betsy.
Clinton, let's look at some of the numbers. And this is all from the U.S. Trade Representative website. When it comes to U.S. goods and services with Japan in 2018, exports totaled $120 billion. And imports, that's $177 billion, which makes the trade deficit between the two countries roughly $57 billion in 2018.
We have a massive deficit with Japan. They send us thousands and thousands, millions of cars. We send them wheat. Wheat. That's not a good deal. And they don't even want our wheat.
Agriculture is on the radar in new trade negotiations with Japan.
And they don't even want our wheat. They do it because they want us to at least feel that we're okay. You know, they do it to make us feel good.
The National Association of Wheat Growers reacting on Twitter saying, quote, they don't buy our wheat because they want us to feel okay. They buy it because it's the highest quality wheat in the world. That's not fake news. One grower saying, quote, the U.S. is already struggling to compete in many wheat markets, and anyone that is buying our product shouldn't be told this. Wheat prices in the high plains are already below production costs, hence the reason for the continued loss of acres. NOG CEO Chandler Gould says U.S. wheat exports would potentially be larger if there was a bilateral trade deal to Japan. Adding that if the administration hadn't dropped out of the updated Trans-Pacific Partnership deal, exports would be even higher.
Every day as CTPP goes into effect, we continue to be at an economic disadvantage to two of our largest export competitors, Canada and Australia. They already have an economic advantage to one of the largest wheat markets, which is Japan.
So what does ag trade with Japan look like? USTR's website shows total U.S. exports of ag to Japan were $13 billion in 2018, our third largest export market for ag products. Top exports include corn, beef, pork, soybeans, and wheat. While U.S. exports are in the billions, U.S. total imports of ag products from Japan are much lower at $725 million in 2018. The top category, wine and beer.
What they're doing is they're buying a lot of our stuff, including our military equipment. They're building car plants now in the United States.
The administration says it's working to finish a trade deal quickly. Until it does, wheat growers will be listening for every indication a deal is near. The Kyodo News Agency in Japan reporting President Trump is asking Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to buy more U.S. ag products, reportedly soybeans and wheat. Now the two are planning on meeting in France later in the month. Clinton?
All right, thanks, Betsy. The roller coaster ride on Wall Street continues. Wednesday, stocks sank on concerns about the trade war with China and about the potential of a recession. Investors dumping stocks, erasing the gains from a big rally just the day before. President Trump discussing his decision to delay new tariffs on certain Chinese goods and the phone call U.S. negotiators had recently with their Chinese counterparts.
I'm not sure if it was the tariffs or the call, but the call was very productive. Again, they've said this many times. They said they're going to buy farm products. So far, they've disappointed me with the truth. They haven't been truthful, or let's say they've certainly delayed the decision. But it's their intention to buy a lot of farm products. And we did. We had a very good call with China.
Rural America in the political spotlight right now with several Democratic candidates heading to the Iowa State Fair. Among them, Democratic presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg, the South Bend, Indiana mayor, discussing his rural economic policy proposal. Now, his proposal calls for towns and counties and not just corporations to be able to seek employment visas.
Well, I think rural America is beginning to see all the ways in which they are being neglected by this administration. A lot of lip service to rural America, but you look at everything from policies that have eviscerated the soy industry here to a Secretary of Agriculture who says farmers are whiners. You begin to realize they don't actually care. It's very similar to what we've seen with workers. A lot of talk about doing things for workers, and then the biggest achievement they have legislatively is a tax cut for corporations and the wealthiest. Rural America is hurting right now. Farm income's down half of what it was 5 years ago, and these policies are making it worse. So we may not be able to win everybody over, but I absolutely believe in campaigning, as we'll be doing the next few days, in rural areas, especially because we have a plan to help grow jobs, to help grow population, and to help grow infrastructure.
Buttigieg has embarked on a 3-day trip through Iowa, including rural counties carried by Democrat Barack Obama back in 2008 and Republican Donald Trump in 2016. New details in the investigation of America's largest dairy operation, Fair Oaks Farms in northern Indiana. The lone suspect arrested so far in the case is facing new legal issues. 36-year-old Edgar Gardozo Vasquez was supposed to appear in Newton County Court earlier this week. He faces a felony charge of torturing or mutilating a vertebrate animal and a misdemeanor charge of animal cruelty, but he did not appear. That's because when he was released on bond last month, he was immediately handed over to ICE. The judge has now revoked his bond and has issued a warrant for failure to appear. He was arrested after an animal rights group released videos earlier this year showing calves being thrown and kicked at Fair Oaks Farms. The owners of Fair Oaks also speaking out again this week, posting this video on Facebook, saying they have brought in animal welfare experts and have started third-party audits. They've also installed cameras they say will ensure all employee-animal interaction is monitored and reviewed.
The main thing we're trying to do is to reinforce a culture where the care of the animals comes first before all other things.
They're also planning an animal welfare exhibit at the farm to open to the public in the spring. The day is getting a little shorter now, but those sunsets are still pretty spectacular, as meteorologist Mike Hoffman shows us in today's Crop Comments. Mike?
Thanks, Clinton. This beautiful scene is courtesy of Carol Bauer. She calls it Sunflowers at Sunset. It was taken in Minnesota, sunflowers as far as the eye can see, and check out the amazing pinks and blues of that sunset. Checking out the wind speed forecast, you can see not a whole lot of it as we start today, a little bit in the western plains. A little bit windier through the central mountains into the northern plains as we head through the afternoon hours. And heading into the day tomorrow, then we'll start off mainly calm, except for a couple of thunderstorms in the plain states. And then we do get a little bit windier from the Great Lakes into the southern portions of the Rockies. I'll have more in your forecast coming up.
Markets have been in a slide since the August report. What could we see to create a rally? We asked that in today's analysis. And later, honoring the tradition of the county fair in the country. Plus, there's still time to join us on the Pro Farmer Midwest Crop Tour. It's coming up next week. Hear what our scouts learn in the field each and every day. The cost, $99 per person. You can register at profarmer.com/register.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Corn and soybeans in the red again with the lack of any Chinese buy of U.S. soybeans casting a shadow over that market. Here's more now. Let's see.
Hi, another lower day in the corn and the soybean markets here as the market reels from the USDA reports on Monday. Still some amazement over especially the corn production estimate that showed a lot higher corn production than the trade had expected. And some concerns about demand. There hasn't been any real demand showing up on this particular price break, and not a good sign. We had expected now with the prices down near contract lows that we would see the end user demand start to pick up. Cattle and hogs showing two sides here today, but mostly trading higher. The cattle market a little bit lower in the nearby, but sharply higher in deferred months. A lot of the reaction selling from the Tyson fire at one of their packing plants has been factored into the market, and there's a lot of indications that the Tyson plant won't be closed as long as it had originally been feared. The hog market, ignoring China news here today, the economic weakness over in China not really causing much of a stir in the hog market.
Tommy Grisafi with Advanced Trading, our guest today. Tommy, let's talk about what this market has done since the August report, because we have seen some downward pressure really on both corn and soybeans.
Yeah, extreme volatility the whole year. From you look at 2 months ago, we are back to where we started.
Right.
And so it's confusing for some. For clients we have who have prevent plant, or folks who only sold half as much corn seed as they normally do, they're scratching their head. But that price, when corn rallied from 370 to 470, sent a signal out to anyone on any acre, go plant corn. And if you believe the USDA numbers, and I noticed you had a good interview yesterday, they're saying those acres are out there. We'll see, but each person has to look at their situation. I have a horrible feeling there's a bunch of people out there who went and planted what they thought was going to be $5 corn, and now they're going to have sticker shock when, as you know, today we trade 370. So the corn you planted, the price it was at, typically a lot of people, when they buy inputs, they sell crop. So if you're going to plant a crop, usually you're selling a crop too, or at least protecting. And so if you have a grower out there who planted a lot of bushels really late in June, and they have nothing sold or protected, that it could be really ugly.
Yeah, as we get through the rest of this growing season, and we still have growing season left to do with this crop, what about harvested acres? Are you as concerned about, or are you watching harvested acres as hard as we were watching planted acres, or is it enough to even make a difference?
It's a great question. So definitely there's going to be corn that was planted that won't do well. I mean, I don't even know if it'll make silage, but they went and planted corn. Obviously, it depends on the fall weather. If you could tell me how this crop is going to finish up, I could, make some great decisions. But there's definitely bushels, and when you see people going out, the crop tour is going to go out next week. It'll be interesting to see what all those, I think they have 20 different routes, and what they come back and say, oh yeah, there was a field of corn, but it's not going to make it with the normal frost. So those harvested acres number, that could be the real shocker here in months to come.
All right, as long as, if there's any shock left in this, there's always shock in these markets,
Absolutely.
Right? Appreciate it, Tommy. Thank you so much. We'll be back with more AgDay coming up in just a minute.
Interested in spending a day with a trader? Call Tommy Grisafi at 800-664-4383. The IBM Watson Decision Platform for Agriculture, helping to feed a hungry world with the power of AI.
Meteorologist Mike Huffman taking a look at our weather map now. And Mike, as we look at this, there's a bunch of little fronts right here.
I sometimes try to simplify the national map a little bit, but yeah, each one of these has some activity with it. So we had to throw them all on the map this morning. We'll start with the one off the East Coast, but of course most of that's going to stay off the East Coast except for the stationary front in Florida. Then the one over the southern Great Lakes will have some showers and thunderstorms pop up, mainly scattered. Same idea over the northern plains, and we have two over central and western Canada, all going to be moving toward the east-southeast over the next 24 hours. So by afternoon, those thunderstorms will be moving through parts of the eastern Ohio Valley into portions of the northeast. We'll have some areas in the southeast as well. Hit and miss in the southwest, kind of typical for this time of the year, and of course the northern plains getting a little bit as well. All of this is scattered. Now, if you get a heavy thunderstorm, you can get a lot of rain out of it, but you can also miss those heavy thunderstorms. You can see by tomorrow morning, our model actually shows a complex across parts of the eastern Missouri Valley, central Mississippi Valley. We'll have to wait and see exactly where that is. That will all continue to dive southeast and die during the day. That's kind of one of those typical things. Scattered afternoon thunderstorms in the Great Lakes as we head through the early part of the weekend, late in the day tomorrow, and scattered along both of the next two fronts across the northern tier of states. Checking out precipitation estimates over the past 24 hours, most of it has been in Florida and along the Gulf Coast. Adding in the next 36, we're going to add some more in those places. Parts of Florida may end up with several inches of rain over a 2 or 3 day period here. And then you can see it depends on where the thunderstorms are, but there'll be tracks where those thunderstorms occur across the plains, Great Lakes, and parts of the Northeast. Hot weather in the Southwest, triple digits there, also in parts of South Texas. Lots of 90s across the rest of Texas. Low temperatures tonight going to be on the comfortable side across the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley into the northern plains, northern Rockies. back to tomorrow afternoon. The heat continues south of those fronts, but gradually it gets more comfortable the farther north you go. Now, taking a look at the jet stream as we head through the rest of the day today, you can see the trough in the Great Lakes kind of gives way to a little bit of a ridge in the northeast as we head into Sunday. Trough still digging through the central portion or northern portions of the plains. That kind of dampens out, and it looks like we go into some heat for much of next week across many parts of the country. A little bit of a trough by later in the week into the Pacific Northwest. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. We'll head to Casper, Wyoming. First of all, partly sunny and pleasant today, high of 84 degrees. Jackson, Mississippi, hot and humid, hazy sunshine, high up to 97. And Mansfield, Ohio, partly sunny, a thunderstorm in a few spots, high of 82.
Still ahead, a fire devastates a beef processing plant in Kansas. We have the latest on how long that plant could be out of service and what it means for the cattle industry on the whole. Next.
What do you call someone who does dozens of jobs? A farmer. At Pioneer, we're proud to work with generations of American farmers in the most complex and rewarding industry on earth. So from your friends at Pioneer, thank you, farmers.
Cattle markets rebounding a bit on Wednesday after some big drops earlier in the week. The market's responding to that massive fire at a Tyson processing plant in Kansas over the weekend. Drovers now reports it could take anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks to bring the plant back online. It's estimated 5% of the nation's total slaughter capacity was impacted by the fire.
The good thing in the whole is that, believe it or not, packers are making $200 a head. Yes, their profits went up because of this, but think of the situation the cattle industry would be in if they were only making $10 a head when this fire happened. That incentive then would not be there to help us scramble to get these cattle killed and to rebuild. So it's a good thing in this instance that packers were making good money.
But Drover says the scramble to find other slaughter locations could mean more truck time for cattle and could hurt carcass weights. It's county fair time, and amid the food and the rides, there are roots in agriculture. A closer look at some of these traditions next. It's county fair season across the country, and you'll find Ferris wheels and funnel cakes, but also a lot of farming, livestock, and cooking exhibits. Charles Denny shows us how county fairs maintain their agricultural roots.
The Greene County Fair offers considerable variety. Wild rides, games of chance, cotton candy, and spirited cornhole competitions. But this is also one of Tennessee's biggest agricultural counties, and the fair reflects that. Boasting one of the largest livestock shows in the Southeast, young and old compete, like 4-H'er Nathan Gillum.
I probably like the agriculture part the most.
Yeah?
I like being in the barns and stuff.
Yeah, what do you like about that?
I've always been raised around cattle and been around agriculture, so I just like being with it.
I like to win the same as anybody does, but you take your winning and you take your losing going, but it's the people you meet out here, you're in and you're out.
Family friendly, there's plenty at the fair to do, see, taste, and learn. Fairs may have evolved into more overall entertainment, but historically they were held to show what kind of year a community had in farming.
There's been a fair here in Greene County every year since 1870, and this county includes more than 50 farms that are at least a century old. This fun event is a celebration of agriculture.
You know, it's all about maintaining that tradition and the culture, the heritage of the area, and we are a big rural county, a big agricultural county, so it's just an opportunity for everyone to come out and showcase what they've grown.
UT and TSU extension agents in Ag, 4-H, and Family and Consumer Sciences pretty much live at their local fairs during their entire run. Extension has long had a tie-in with fair organizing and programming, but it always comes back to agriculture and what that can mean for a place like Greene County, Tennessee.
The thing is, it celebrates agriculture in a very agricultural community. And agriculture means a lot to us with about $54 million worth of income in Greene County. and that translates to something over $400 million worth of benefit to the local economy.
Plans for the 2020 Greene County Fair are underway even before this one closes down. There are hopes to even expand the animal exhibits and competitions next year. Whether we're talking fairs of the past, present, or future, count on agriculture to be a focus. This is Charles Denny reporting.
One of my favorite things. Thanks, Charles, and that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.